In this video, we're going to take a look at how to join two objects together. So we've done this before, but what I want to do is I want to just take some time to kind of problem solve issues that come up. So with something like this, the propeller, we've made it low enough resolution to where we could fit it into the shaft here, but it's going to take just a little bit of work. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and select this object here, and I need to adjust its pivot point to center up on the propeller shaft. So to do this, I'm going to go to the hierarchy panel and affect pivot only. And I could go to my top view and move it into position, but what I want to do instead is I actually want to align it to the shaft here. So to do that, let's go ahead and use the align tool and then pick the object that we want the pivot point to align to. Now it will only align the pivot point if we have affect pivot only on. Otherwise, what it would do is actually move the entire object and align it to this piece. So let's left click on that and we'll get this dialog box that comes up, and what we want to do is we want to align the pivot points together. Let's go ahead and hit OK on that and then turn off affect pivot only. Now what I want to do is I want to grab my rotation tool and hold down shift and rotate this 180 degrees. Now if I were to rotate this around, make sure that your angle snap is turned off or turned on to make that easy. Now we get these clone options, and these are really great. We have three different options that we can use. We have copy, instance, and reference. Copy is really great if you want to clone an object without it tying itself to the original object. This can be done by making two unique objects in this. Now, what I want to do is I want to instance the object. So any changes that I make to this one will make changes to the original and vice versa. So let's go ahead and hit OK on that, and we will have our object. Now, if at any time you want to make the objects unique, so separate them from the instances of one another, all you need to do is go to the Modify panel and click on Make Unique, and that will split them apart. Now, you'll also notice that the two objects, looking at the modifiers, they are in bold, and that's letting us know that they are an instance of another object. So that's just kind of helping you to understand that if you change this, it's going to change another object. So now that we have this, let's think about how we can prepare the topology of the shaft to receive the propellers. So to do this, let's grab the propellers. I want to just make sure that they are inside of these two polygons. I think that these two polygons could receive that. So let's take this guy, and let me just look at the top view here. What I want to do is I just want to pull this back just enough, maybe to right about here, to where that edge is right along this center line here. And then let's do the same thing here. Let's pull this forward some. We don't have to be perfect, we just need to be close. Let's go to our perspective view and hit Z to just kind of zoom in on that so we can see it easily. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the polygons of this piece here. So let's go to polygon mode, and I'm going to select these two polygons. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to inset that. And I don't want to do it a whole lot, just a little bit. And let's inset it to, let's say, 0.5 or 0.6 or so. Let's go ahead and hit OK on this. And what this is doing is it's just allowing me to have the polygons that I need to get it attached to the propeller here. Now, one thing that I do want to do is go ahead and scale it down in the Y. So I'm just going to scale that, and then I'm going to grab each edge. So I'm going to go to edge mode, grab my move tool. I'm going to move this down, and I'm just going to roughly get it into position. Let's grab this one. We pull this back. Now I need to constrain this to the edge, because if I start pulling this in the Y, look what it does, is it makes this little hump right here, and I really don't want that. So to constrain it, I can actually constrain it to a face. So if I move this in the X and Y, it's constraining it to the existing faces without changing that. So that feels pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I need to get that onto the other side of this piece here. Now, this is going to be a little difficult to do because I can't get rid of those polygons and then use symmetry. It won't do it right. Remember, we rotated the propellers to duplicate that. We didn't use symmetry. So what I would have to do, if I wanted to just save some time really quickly, is grab the polygons on one side of this. Okay, so let's hit F3, just make sure we have all of those. Looks good. And then I'm going to delete that. And then what I can do is grab this object using that rotation tool, hold Shift, and rotate it around 180 degrees. And then we're going to just make it a copy and then hit OK. Now you'll see that the topology that we created is in the correct position. And now what we need to do is we need to reattach these objects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Attach the two objects. Now I need to weld the center line on this. So let's go to our top view, go to vertex mode, and let's weld where they join together. So it says I have 26 vertices selected. Let's simply use weld because they're right on top of one another, and you'll now see that that is cut in half to 13 vertices selected. I know that it has welded perfectly, and that's all I need to do. So now that I have this, let's go to polygon mode. Let's select those polygons that are going to be in place for our propellers and delete those. And let's select this one, and delete. And then all I have to do now is go ahead and attach these propeller pieces. Let's go ahead and convert them both to editable poly. Now, whenever I convert them to editable poly, it will remove the instance status. So let's convert it. Let's select this one. Let's go to polygon mode and select the polygons on the inside and delete. And let's do the same thing for the other one. So there we go. With those deleted, we can now select the propeller shaft, and then all we have to do is go to attach and attach the propeller wings, or the actual propeller fans, I should say. Let's go to vertex mode by hitting 1 on the keyboard, and now all I have to do is target weld these pieces together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to target weld the fan blades, or the propellers, to the propeller shaft. So let's right click, target weld. Let's go from this point to here, here to here. We'll go up from there, and we're going to go all the way around. It's important to remember the first one that you pick should be the fan blade, or the propeller. Let's hit F3. Now this is going to change the shape of your propeller a little bit because you're welding these together, but it shouldn't make a whole lot of difference. It shouldn't change it too much. Okay, put that into place there, and then this one here, and then let's hit F3 so I can see through that, and then go to that one. So now all of those together. I am going to go ahead and grab my move tool. I do kind of want to push this one back in the Y a little bit, and this one is going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pull it back a little bit. So it should have something like this. So now I have created this propeller, and it is all quadrified. So we set it up in a way that the polygons are all quads, and it should smooth out pretty effectively. So let's add an open subdiv modifier to this, and you'll see that it works out really well. Nothing too bad. Looking at this, I just want to kind of take some quick looks. I was looking at this polygon right here. I think that one's okay, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, so now everything is smoothed out really well. I think that will work just fine, and we'll be able to get the shape that we need. And again, it's mushy because we have just applied the open subdiv, and it's not going to give us the exact shape until we start smoothing it out and creasing it and getting a little bit more intentional about that. So I'm going to actually right click and delete that open subdiv. Let's go back to our perspective view, and we've created that propeller. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to get that motor and the propeller in place on all of the other pieces. Now, we could wait to do that, or we could do it right now. Either way is fine. I'm going to show you how to group objects together and then align them in the world space and get them to match to the other positions of the arms.